Okay, ladies and germs, we are back. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Hey, and I'm
Now,
here
I am
now.
using
Sorry,
the
chat.
coming soon background because I don't have an appropriate one and I don't really want the game going in the background.
That's fair.
Yep.
So, I have two wonderful ladies here to discuss a project I have been working on since high school.
Ooh, long-term project.
It is one of four long-term coals in the fire, my brain runs in the background projects.
It's important to have those.
Night
Oh,
Owl, Grimos, and several others in here have participated in one of my other ones that I actually started in middle school. The
I don't
BattleTech
think I have
campaign
any
that
projects from back then that lasted that long.
the BattleTech campaign that my friends and I started writing when the publication of 3055 came out.
Oh, wow.
You know, early clan invasion, early mid 1990s.
That would have been around the time I was falling down the World of Darkness rabbit hole.
It was during that exact time period.
Mm-hmm.
BattleTech even had
Grimace
some
says a
darkness.
venerable campaign. Excellent.
But the project for today is I'm
Hmm.
going to present a world that is the world I'm writing for the RPG and book series that I've been working on.
Nice.
And I want Lady Red to pick things apart, ask me lots of questions, and help me refine some of the concepts.
I only promise to do my best. But I think the first question I will have before you even start is when you're doing your world building, what is your approach? Where do you start from? Because there's multiple different ways to go about things, which people who have been cursed with coming to my stream will know. You can start with a story that you want to tell, and you build the world for the story to happen in because you know you've got this specific tale you want. You can do what I like to do, which is let's start from fundamentals. How many stars are in the solar system? How many planets? Even if we're never necessarily going to explore them. How do you tend to approach beginning to build a universe?
Um, Both and something else all simultaneously. You may not be aware, Lady Red, I'm actually in about 75% of your streams just watching and taking notes.
I'm sorry.
I greatly enjoy them.
They are a fun time. I do very, very much enjoy Shoal, and it surprised me how many people do turn up to get involved in all of that. And I'm pretty proud of what we've done this year. So I'm glad it's been appealing to you as well.
This is a science fiction universe,
Hmm.
loosely inspired by Arthur C. Clarke
Okay.
and several others of that era,
Hmm.
but with some Robotech, or I should say Macross, and 1970s and early 1980s anime influences.
Nice.
Um, it's as broad in spectrum as BattleTech, where you can spin around and look at all kinds of different things, and there's a whole history to it. But what I'm trying to tell is a few stories, B,
Hmm.
give a chalk outline that future players and game masters can explore and flesh out more of. I don't want it to be so restrictive they can't have a stretching room. And so I've been creating essentially technical manuals and um, world guides.
Nice.
The concept that got me started is actually one I don't know how much German you know.
Less than Aiden. Quite a bit less than Aiden. He is the German understanderator in this house.
Well, if he's around, you pop him in to listen.
He's doing very important things.
Oh, fair
He's
enough.
making breakfast
Ah,
for
hey,
guests, etc. I'm
indeed
not going to pull
important.
away from that.
This is the makers, and it's based on Zumachen, which is a concept in German because to make or to do are the same word.
Okay.
And so making and doing and creation are all the same concept in German and Germanic literature and mythology.
Okay.
Um, I studied German for many years, both living there and in high school and all after.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that got me was the duality of that concept. Now, I am putting a disclaimer here for the VOD and everyone. I am going to discuss a historical situation. I do not agree with some of the principles of the historical situation, but it is relevant to the understanding of some of the concept. During World War II, the Battle of the Bulge, a American unit was overrun.
Mhm.
The last man standing was an African American cook who manned a 30 caliber machine gun after abandoning his pots and pans and mowed down the SS unit that was attacking them.
Okay.
Several hours later, a guy identifying as an American colonel came and said, "Did you make this, boy?" in a heavy southern Alabama accent, and then slapped him and beat him for it. He turned down the Congressional Medal of Honor, saying that this American officer had done this to him. It wasn't until the 1990s and 50 years after the Battle of the Bulge that someone realized and told him that the colonel was a German infiltrator.
Okay.
And so it's a shibboleth.
Hmm.
It's something verbal and conceptual that trips up people of society. And so that concept is part of what I've built in is there are shibboleths to each culture.
Hmm.
Each culture, be it the human cultures, be it alien cultures, be it AI culture, has its own shibboleth. Now, this is in the far future. Humanity has expanded to the stars, but humanity is not unified.
Yeah,
I
that
think
sounds like humanity.
I think the concept of humanity being one nation, one government, we can get together to do stuff, but we will never be a unified whole. I don't think that's in our ethnic and cultural identities. And
It depends
unless
on what you're
we,
doing with a setting, and I mean, if it's something that you want to focus on in the setting, it's certainly something you can do because humanity's very good at. We're really good at fighting with each other
Mhm,
because each other's what we've got. But anytime you get sort of a group of people who are perhaps arguing with each other and have issues, but then you bring in some kind of outside threat, which of course in our real world in the current time is usually a different nation or a different group or whatever, all of a sudden the squabbling lot all come together to deal with the problem until it goes away and then they go back to squabbling. So I think
exactly.
that there's settings you can write where you have, say, a great enough external threat that humanity unifies because you have to. So those kinds of settings I do enjoy, but
Well,
I do tend to struggle with ones that are very noble, bright settings where, like, yes, and humans put aside their differences, and now we're exploring the stars. Like, okay, how did we do that? Because we don't tend to be great at that without some massive thing that makes that have to happen.
in this setting, humanity actually now is quasi unified
Hmm.
in that the different factions are working together.
Yeah.
However, they are still distinct factions.
Yes, and I'm sure they still have their issues with each other. And
Oh,
for
absolutely.
me personally, I do enjoy that kind of thing. It was why I got into World of Darkness. I got into Vampire the Masquerade very heavily because I do love me some underhanded political shenanigans.
Um, to give a brief synopsis of some of the cultures.
Go for it.
Um, the first one is the English speaking peoples, because eventually many of the former colonies and England and the US and Canada and etc. all realize that we've got a lot more in common than we have separate. And so we're each still our own nation, but we all have built a unified commonwealth.
Okay.
Um, it is not, how should I put this? Every nation is a state, but every state is not. Yeah, and so there's multiple levels, and I won't get into all the tiering, but basically,
Hmm.
a lot of the English Commonwealth and other countries that were British colonies at one time or another have joined together to form the Commonwealth of English speaking peoples.
Okay.
Um, and they like shiny stuff.
Money.
They are techno, they like computers, they like shiny, they like to explore, they like to have really big guns.
Don't touch the boats. Anyway,
Um, then there's the European Union, who got together in this history line to face off against the scourge of Asia. And in doing so, eventually actually annexed Russia.
Okay.
Um, at first militarily, and then they kind of went, yeah, other forces in Asia are scarier than you guys, so we'll stay around.
Okay.
And so they've been very successful in exploiting Russian um, raw materials, etc. Most of this combining and all happened a century or more ago in the timeline.
Okay.
Then there's the Asian co-prosperity sphere, which much of Macronesia, Micronesia, um, and a lot of Asia got together and just went, hey, the Europeans are ganging up on us. The English speakers are a threat to us. Australia is empty, but the Americans and the other English speakers are scary, so we're not going to invade. Um, yes, von Falkenstein. No one annexes Russia unless Russia asks them to, because, well, the Chinese are invading.
You can also, potentially wait until you hit that cycle of Russian repetitive history of we're kind of hungry, and if you can do something about that, we might play nice for a bit.
Oh no, that's why. Yeah, the Chinese kind of were taking out the Russian food supply. Anyway, that's going into the dark histories of the far past in this. Uh, Africa, other than the areas that joined the Europeans or the English speakers, basically becomes it uh, Northern Africa and Arabia become a caliphate, and
Okay.
it's more, say, 7th century,
Mhm.
10th century caliphate, where
Okay.
they are intensely both religious and speculative in research. They're coming up with all kinds of interesting mathematics.
Okay.
Um, and then Spain actually doesn't join the EU.
What did the
Almost
Spanish get up to?
all of
Because they have
Latin,
some interesting politics,
almost
especially in
all
the
of,
last decade.
almost all of Latin America, along with Spain and Portugal, become the Hispano.
Okay.
And if you want a good time, you go to one of the Hispano areas. They know how to party like nobody else.
So, when you were starting out with describing your setting, you were saying that this is, humanity's hit the stars. Is it fair to assume that each of these factions has sort of planets that they
Oh, they've got
claim their own that's feeding resources back to Earth, or has everything moved
absolutely
outside of Earth? Where are we at with that?
every one of them's got hundreds of systems at
Okay.
the smallest. Um, some of them have much greater influence in the stars than others.
Yep.
Also, for at least 1,000 years, humanity hasn't fought on Earth militarily.
So, what
Earth
position
and
does Earth sit in? Does Earth belong a little bit to everybody still? Has it become the sort of domain of one group?
Earth domain
Where are we at with the home world?
Earth belongs to everyone,
Okay.
and everyone's too afraid of destroying the Earth to fight there
Yeah, I mean, once
because
not in my backyard. We've got all of these lovely other systems. Let's go and do the fighting over there.
exactly because some of these weapons are like micro microwave lasers that just irradiate all life out of a space station with a single hit,
Ew.
possibly. We're talking weapons that could conceivably crack the crust of planets. And so nobody wants to be the one to destroy Earth.
Is it fair to assume that a lot of resources flow back to Earth so that, all the hereditary is Earth sort of considered, like the place to be? It means you have status and influence, and a lot of the resources from these other systems flows back there? Or do the different factions you've just described claim certain systems as like their home world? Now they're sort of like their core world where all the resources flow to, and then they also just have a presence on Earth.
Earth is the ancestral and cultural home, but
Mhm.
each faction has an administrative capital elsewhere.
Right. Okay.
However, their cultural headquarters and where they do shiny stuff is on Earth.
Yeah. Gotcha. I'm just getting
Uh,
the feel for where Earth
oh,
is sitting in the
absolutely.
setting and its relevance.
In fact, some of the worlds are, well, imagine Neo Tokyo from 1970s and 80s anime, but as a
Bubblegum crisis.
but as a planet,
Okay.
like Coruscant in Star Wars, only
Hmm.
with Japanese culture and Asian
Mhm.
cultures. So everything is city and planet blended. There's worlds like that.
Okay.
And there's
Von
probably worlds
Falkenstein
where it's like
prefers Neo
everybody.
Tokyo over Coruscant.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that the whole world, including floating cities and underwater stuff and all, has stuff everywhere.
And there's
Very
probably
dense.
worlds where everything's all farms and such as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
agri-worlds. You'd need them to support, the blossoming populations of many, 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 many worlds.
Well,
Makes
you've also
sense.
got agro stations.
Nice. So we have mastered the art of hydroponics.
Yes, there are whole space stations and colony spaceships that are literally floating farms.
Yes, we do have a cookie. I'm just doing a lot of the usual thing that I do, which is wittering.
I'm here. I'm not saying much because I don't have a very, my voice is kind of, because I've been sick. So
Oh. If you have sore throat, Crow recommended a really good tea that might be worth picking up. I'll link it to you later in case you're
it's
interested.
less sore throat and more, the cold is making me sneeze. And,
Ah.
And our heater
yeah,
is not keeping up with things as well as we would hope it to be.
Yeah,
yeah,
you guys
that
still
ain't
have
not much
snow at
at
the
all.
minute, don't you?
Yes, and it was
About
18
10
this
inches.
morning.
Wow. We have not hit the snow point of the year up where we're at. That will probably be the end of January. So I hope things warm up where you guys are in the near future.
Oh, yeah. In our area, 75% of the time it snows, it is actually New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So this happening a couple days before that is not unusual.
Yeah, it's usually sort of January, February up where we're at if we get it at all.
Yeah. So mankind has found, and it took a while for us to find lots of aliens out there. I won't go into specific names and all, but I will give some concepts of some of them. One of them is a hive mind,
Okay.
but of a hive mind of individuals. Imagine a species that the collective good runs the collective. Whether we're
Okay.
not quite sure, humanity's not sure if there's actually a big brain somewhere or if it's just
Hmm.
a resonance of consciousness.
Okay.
But each body is dwelled in by an individual
Hmm.
that is part of the collective. but the consciousness of each is mobile. So an individual can be seated at a terminal or something and starts doing a task that the individual in that body cannot do. So the collective swaps who's in the body.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's all based loosely on Orson Scott Card's phylotic theory.
Be interesting because the for those individuals, the concept of self is going to be all about thought patterns and preferences and not tied to physical form because that
Exactly.
can be swapped out. So that will make what's important to those individuals very different.
Exactly. But also imagine the concept of, oh no, this body is going to die. Who do we put in it?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. That
So they get to choose because well, do they have the option to not put a conscious? Or then again, you're going to end up with a series of conscious. Where do you put them if you're not going to
Exactly.
let them die with a body? Um, do you end up with some kind of storage system for consciousnesses that are not being used? Okay, that's going to make a really interesting society and what drives them and what's important.
Um, I unfortunately don't have my notebook with me, but I've got lots of interesting cultures like that where,
Nice.
the trees. Don't you have one that's trees? Or was that just
yes, I do. That one you guys ran into in the alpha that I ran.
yeah.
Intelligent trees.
Okay.
They can't move, but they are a collective. They speak in chemicals, in leaves, in except how they manipulate themselves so that when the wind goes through, they make certain noises, etc. And humans and others are actually potentially due to meddling with genetics and finding aliens who were and adapting ourselves, etc. Some of us are psychic,
Okay.
and psychics can actually talk to the trees.
So when I think of tree species, obviously the first ones that come to my mind are Ents from Lord of the Rings, and you have in Sir Terry Pratchett's work trees that can think and they think very slowly. That their sort of pace of communication is very different to the human pace of communication. With your sentient tree species, I presume they are able to think at a faster speed than that.
It depends on the species of tree
Okay.
and its temperature.
Okay.
If it's warm, its sap is flowing and it can think faster. If it's cold,
Okay.
it thinks slower.
The opposite of trolls from Terry Pratchett.
Exactly. But that if it's warm, it's growing, it's doing, it's thinking, it's alive. If it's
It's
cold,
very active.
it's
Yeah.
trying to protect itself and be closed in on itself.
Bit more dormant. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And so trees that are from warmer areas are much more active and alert than trees from cold areas.
Hmm.
But trees from cold areas often grow bigger.
Yes.
And so there's
Because
a
they're using that energy to grow rather than do.
exactly. And that's another point for the tie-in of Zumakin.
Yep.
Yes.
They're making or they're doing. And so if you took, for instance, say a redwood or something, they're going to be a slower tree.
Yeah.
They think much slower, but they get huge. Whereas, say you have a desert scrub oak, which may look like it's only about, well, 3, 4 feet tall, but that's because it's inside a 25-foot sand dune before it hits the roots. And it's
Hmm.
all insulated in sand and warm and thinking very fast.
Hmm. That's just an interesting way to handle a species. How does the fact that they don't move affect what's important to them and what they communicate about?
Well, that's where it's interesting is they are one of the first species that several other spacefaring species discovered their world. And
Hmm.
so the trees are actually a library.
Okay.
They are a living library and a living teaching place of thought and region and logic and philosophy and explaining philosophy of other cultures and debating them, but
Mhm.
between the trees, understanding of different cultures, philosophies from all over the galaxy.
Yeah,
And
a grand
diplomacy too,
repository.
right?
What?
And like diplomacy and
Yes.
Pre-diplomats. I love it. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be on board with this because this is very analogous to the coral archives that we've been building on Shoal, which
Yeah.
are very similar.
It, I was laughing my head off listening to you talking about those because I wrote the trees as being that back in like 98.
I, well, the big thing that, one of the things I've mentioned on stream a lot is that there are 7 stories in the entire world. What makes them unique, all the billions of stories we've had that tell the same stories over and over and over again, is the unique lenses that they're filtered through.
Well,
So I'm
right.
not surprised we have some
oh
analogous
yeah.
things.
And I'll admit, I got that concept from one of the Dark Horse Star Wars comics where there's a
Okay.
Jedi librarian that is a living tree,
Ah, okay. Inspiration is a wonderful thing.
and he speaks to others through the Force,
Okay.
but he only moves every couple of centuries at all.
Anyway, so those are some of the.
Some of the cultures and species, um,
Hmm.
there's one of them that my ladies and I came up with while we were driving a few weeks ago, where they're a trading species of aquatic creatures that they deal with the area between the light and the dark, where they can trade with the surface and they can trade with the deeps, and how they manipulate things between the two.
Okay.
And they're from one world, but they have inhabited other worlds as colonies, being
Hmm.
mediators in aquatic situations.
Okay.
But you're never quite sure if they're being square with you
Traders be like that
or
sometimes,
how much they're skimming for
Hmm.
themselves.
right?
That's good. That does sort of start to lead into one of the big questions I always have for settings. Give me a second to settle the dog. The puppers have opinions this morning.
Do they
um,
not? Do they ever not have opinions?
Yes, yes. Well, we have our sister. Well, for me, my sister-in-law, for Iden, his sister visiting, and she has flown over, and she brought her cat with her, who travelled amazingly. Her cat
Oh,
also
wow.
has the best name. He is a black cat, and his name is Dracula. And he
Nice.
he is the little Dark Lord, and he's wonderful. And of course, the beagles just want to play with him because they think, oh, it's another little beagle. And no, no, Dracula is a cat, and he's having none of their nonsense. So Pip's like, I want to play with the friend.
Mm. Why not friend if friend shaped?
Exactly, exactly. But
And
Dracula's
cat is
been
like,
wonderful.
you are in my space and my time. Why are you messing with me?
Yes, so they've had some extra opinions this Christmas, but they're doing fine. They're doing fine. So, conflict. Um, conflict kind of is what drives stories and people and etc. And sometimes it's big conflicts, sometimes it's little conflicts. Like on Shoal, I know a lot of our stories will either focus around leviathans or some of the natural predators that are a problem on Shoal. The interactions between the Shoalie and humans. You know, all these little sort of pinch points of conflict are what drive you to have a story, to want to be in a setting, to want to engage with it. What conflicts are present in the world, in the universe you've been building?
Okay, well, there are all the normal ones of trade and conquest, etc.
Hmm.
But everything focuses down to one event. In all of the galaxy, this one event kind of gave everybody pause and reset everything. On the 5,000th celebration of the storming of the Bastille, along the celebratory way of the Champs Elysees, the French and the Parisians are having their parade, and it's huge. There are millions in attendance, both watching from floating platforms and blimps and etc. It's a party that's been going on for days beforehand, and this is the climax of the parade.
Okay.
When all of a sudden, this cylindrical object, about 1,000 meters long and 10 meters across, materializes in the on top of the Champs Elysees.
Okay.
It just shimmers and is there. And green beams start sweeping out from it. They're like fans of light, but everything they touch disappears as if the beam is just erasing it. When the beam passes
Okay.
back going the other direction, war machines of an unknown type are suddenly materialized.
Okay.
By the end of the day, they have destroyed and absorbed an area of over 50 kilometers.
That's a
Every
fair distance.
military force on Earth and that can come in from the near system has deployed and used every weapon they can think of that won't hurt the Earth on them and failed.
Okay.
So it is finally decided they use a neutron weapon and atomize everything within 100 kilometers of Paris,
Okay.
creating what becomes known as the crater of dust.
That is a good name for a. This was super important, and is thing happened. That is a good name for that.
25 years later, humanity is still going, what the hell?
Okay, so they still haven't found, what civilization that came from, etc., etc.
Nobody knows.
Okay, have there been any further attacks anywhere else in the universe since, or was it just this one event?
Just that one event.
Okay,
And a lady walks out of the dust.
okay,
She claims to have been a survivor who the manifestation of Joan of Arc led her to a hidden refuge underground at the start of the attack. And she spent the last 25 years being tutored by the lady.
okay. And is that sort of the jumping in point for where you bring people into your setting, or has time progressed since then?
Time has progressed 15 years beyond.
Okay, so I assume people have gone in to see if this bunker actually, where she was
They can't
living for
find it.
25 years exists. They can't. Okay, okay. How many times have they tried to have her executed?
Never. Be-
Okay, that surprises me
well, no,
because
hear me
okay,
out.
you say this, you've seen Joan of Arc. We can't find the bunker you say you were in.
She
Suspicious.
she is genetically this one little girl that was 5 years old at the time of the attack.
Hmm.
French speaking Moroccan.
Okay.
Okay. They've done all kinds of poke and needle and everything. She is completely human.
Okay.
Um, but she explains new technologies. She has been taught by the lady all these new sciences that are allowing mankind to develop the unified fleet that they are now going out farther to try to find the makers.
Okay. I mean, it's certainly a good pinch point for conflict because there's got to be people who just absolutely do not trust this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But they've spent a lot of time and a lot of money testing everything she said, and everything she said is proven to be true.
Hmm.
Um, there are multiple relativistic and near and faster than light travel methods in this.
Okay.
Everything from well, the what I call the dust drive, which uses little particulates of matter and whatnot to suck into one end and be hyper accelerated and use that to push a ship forward as it shot out the back. And
The earthworm poo drive. Yes.
whole convoys of those ships push each other so they go faster and faster and faster.
Okay. I mean, when it comes to stuff like faster than light travel, my brain starts to dribble out my ears when I think about the logistics of such things.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things I don't handle well. But we have
You
several
sort of
people
hand
who
wave
get
it. Me
involved
too. It's
in.
like
Yes, but there's several people involved in show chat who are very good at that side of things. So if you ever want people to ping your ideas off of that are definitely better than me for that, we've got Ed and Lictor and many of the others who might be of benefit to you if you so wish.
certainly sometime, but many of these I've actually run by some folks I knew that were astrophysicists.
Oh, awesome! Well, you're all good then.
I was lucky enough when I was young to have Mr. Tombaugh as a person who I would have luncheon with on Sundays at least once a month. And since he was the guy who discovered Pluto, I tended to listen to him.
Yeah, you might know just a couple of things.
Uh,
Just a couple.
People talk about Mo and Mad Ducks, but Wookie is also knows a guy.
Yeah.
So they talk about the Shadowrun fixers, but yeah,
we've got a couple of
he's
us.
also one.
Yeah, there's a good few fixes in the Legion.
Um, but she comes up with and tells humanity about a kind of drive that physics today is looking at, but physics 25 years ago had no idea.
Mhm.
Entangled quarks.
Okay.
If you have two quarks that are in contact with each other and then split them up, they can talk to each other without any lag between.
Okay.
So, in these ships, you have two quarks. You shoot one of them virtually
Mhm.
to where you want to go. The second one is tethered to the first one and it drags you there instantaneously.
Okay.
Um, there's a lot involved, and I won't get into all the physics, but it's actually based on physics that people are actually looking at. I try to make stuff as quasi realistic as possible.
It's always a good thing to sort of explore the boundaries that are currently being pushed and extrapolate based on, well, what if this does work? And because those ideas are what sort of stimulate both, younger generations coming in to be interested in things or to have input in other ways. I mean, Star Trek is, of course, the great series to look at for that. Yeah, Star Trek kind of predicted where a lot of our technology was going. Because it was, well, okay, if we had this thing, how would people use it in the future? If this did work, how would it be used in the future? And of course, what they were then using then informed the actual designs of those things in the real world once they did become viable, which is this just wonderful sort of feedback loop that happens with human creativity. And it's why I say writing is magic.
Yes, Fuzzbear, the Fartonium drive is not something I'm going to include in this game. Sorry.
Yes, we do not want the enmethanated universe. That would be terrible.
Yeah, there are many things that I will include in some of this, but that's not one of them at the moment.
Mhm.
So I've done one alpha test of this that Cookie was part of.
Okay.
That was the exploration of the Earthship Toolbox.
Okay.
It was a mobile yard and engineering ship that was working with the fleet in one sector to go out and, well, fix the engineering problems and such that the fleet was running into.
Hmm.
One of the more notable adventures we had was we went to a airless moon or airless planet that was being utilized for engineering research and humans attempting to make mechs, basically. But it was this big iron hulk that they could use to make all the parts and fiddly bits. So, hey, why not just put the research center there? And everything kept failing. Well, the team eventually figured out that it's because of the local star that it produces the color octarine. And the
Excellent.
entire system is a source of magic.
Okay.
And so technology does not work in a high magic environment the way you'd expect it to.
Okay. I think a good source book to look at there, if you haven't already, just for additional ideas, if you wanted to play with them, is Dark Matter, which I've talked about on stream before, and had the pleasure of meeting one of the creators. And that's a cool setting that really thinks about how magic and technology interact.
I happen to own the entire collection,
Fabulous. So you are very well versed then. I do very much enjoy that setting.
along with oh, I can't think of the name of the system now, but it was TSR's last system, Alternity.
Okay.
It was TSR's last system, and it was the kind of D20 modern precursor
Hmm.
in that it had modern stuff, but it also had a whole space exploration setting,
Nice.
far future stuff, and D20 modern is actually loosely based on it.
Hmm.
And well, I don't have quite the collection Welsh does, but I would put my collection up against any other member of the Legion for obscure RPGs.
Fair, absolutely fair. Obscure RPGs can be very, very fun.
I have
And some can be terrible.
I have parts of probably over 200 systems.
Nice. Very nice. So I guess that leaves the question with your setting that you're working on. What is your preferred dice system for it?
Right now, the skin I'm using for it is actually Starfinder.
Okay.
Um, Basically 3-5 Pathfinder skin, but with a
Hmm.
completely different um, character generation system.
Yeah.
It's a narrative generation system that was actually proposed by Welsh in one of his rambling videos,
Excellent.
where you make 10 different choices.
Hmm.
Each choice has 10 different options, and those give you your starting stats.
Nice.
And no matter
Does it
what,
have a little bit of room for sort of wiggle if somebody's like, well, this is almost the character I want to play, but like this one bit doesn't quite fit? Do you have any options to sort of fiddle with that at all? Or is it very, no, what you get is what you get?
oh, there's always room for a little bit of wiggle. But
Excellent.
it's things like if you grow up, say you grew up your entire life on an agro world,
Hmm.
you could still have all the everything you would need to get into a military academy.
Yeah, that is excellent.
Every choice selection you make can still make a well-rounded character. I spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah. Well, one of the systems that I tinkered around with and really enjoyed going back a few years ago now was Sentinel Comics with their superhero character builder. A friend wanted us to sort of play through that and have a look at it with him, and I ended up generating a character through it, and that was a really interesting character generation system because although you were using dice, they've made sure to sort of put wiggle room in there. So as I was rando rolling this character and getting further and further down the tree of what I was doing with her, I was like, I'm building Sindel from Mortal Kombat. And then because I'd sort of realized that I could have either lent into it and just gone with that if that's what I wanted to do, or you had the wiggle room to make something a little bit different. And I then started building in with the wiggle room to make something that was genuinely unique. And that was where the character Thunderclap that I ended up with came from. And that was a really fun system because it had that wiggle room. You got to make your choices, but when you hit those points where you're like, well, this isn't quite what I want, there was enough wiggle to switch it so that you ended up with something that you were keen to play at the end. I think that's a really good way to go. A little bit of wiggle room.
How this basically is said is you get to either make from just I want this one, then this one, then this one, or you can roll a d10 for each one.
Yeah.
Now, say you get on section whatever, you get choice. Well, it gives you a +2 to two different stats, a +1 to I think three different stats,
Hmm.
and then gives you X number of new skills of these different categories and X number of skill points that you can put to anything.
Yeah.
So
A nice amount of customization to go along with it. That's good.
if you grew up on an aggro world, that does not mean you can't become a mathematician who likes to play with dangerous chemicals.
Yeah.
We know that guy.
Yeah,
You get to play with a lot of dangerous chemicals just in farm work. If you want to have the best crop yield, so yeah. And when your race, your species, your culture has X number of other planets that you can go and put your skills to use in, yes, it's important to be able to flex. I think that's good.
and so any path you choose, you'll come up with a fairly well-rounded character
That's good.
with a lot of points for customization. And then you can evolve. You can choose any, and I mean any, just about type of character you build from that. So if you want to build a somebody with psychic abilities, but you grew up in the gutter, that can happen. What I am announcing today, because we're at the end of the time slot, is
That's fair.
hopefully mid to late January, I will be announcing in both the Legion and the Ox the start of a second alpha in which I will allow people to volunteer. I'm looking at for 6 to 8 players to actually come and climb into the world and do some adventuring.
Ooh, that sounds like a fun time.
It's gonna be an alpha where we're doing adventuring, but we're also really working on how should the game feel.
Yeah, looking for your kinks and problems to iron out, and what things you could do to make it even more fun than it already is.
Exactly. Cookie can
Um,
attest. I made the first one a lot of fun for everybody.
Good.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. I
I'm glad
was
you guys
I
had a good
was
time.
a yeah, I was a tech, but I had some interesting quirks too, and so, you know, yeah, it was fun.
Good.
I like quirky, strange, slightly broken characters.
Quirky is good. It gives you something to play with.
And in my setting, the only thing I will not allow is I don't want someone who is truly evil.
Okay.
Just because in this kind of situation, someone who is truly evil can, well, I had a bad night, so I'm going to walk over here and flip this switch, and nobody in security rolls, so the whole ship blows up.
It can also just be hard to find sort of ongoing plot points when it's just evil for evil's sake. And we've had the Saturday morning cartoon villain discussion on my stream many
Yeah,
times, so I will not bore people with it again here.
exactly. The other thing
And
I
it's one of
asked,
those where yeah, and it's one of those where yeah, you can make interesting decisions, especially if you have reasons for them, but to do it just to be it's like playing a P, PvE game and shooting your buddy in the back because it's funny. That's just not it. you
Yes,
know.
yes. There was a friend of mine who was involved in many play sessions with another player who was just. He wasn't malicious on purpose, but would often make decisions that were counterintuitive and not helpful to the group and potentially ruined many sessions.
Exactly.
An overloaded phaser's just a free grenade, right, guys?
Bleh,
No.
bleh, bleh.
Yeah, Cookie and I were part of a gaming group that we played Hackmaster a few times, and
Mhm.
they renamed their characters after the Harkonnens.
Okay. Oh, we have a new subscriber with Prime.
Ooh,
I
great!
Oh, thank
am
you.
not going to try to pronounce that name because I will get it wrong. But
Yeah,
welcome in. We've made a decision. Let me link our Discord for you. You can come join the auxiliary where we get up to all sorts of shenanigans.
but so I have a about 8 notebooks full and spiral note binders, etc., full of notes on worlds and spaceships and technologies and cultures and so
Yep,
it's
yep. I'm currently staring up at my giant binder of everything for my personal setting. And yes, this sounds correct.
and so much of this I'm going to be during this actually putting into a searchable database that the players will have access to.
Oh, nice. That'll take some time, but that was a wonderful resource to have for a setting.
Well, because almost all of my notes are already cross-referenced. I have binder of this is a binder of races and their cultures, things like that.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you guys will have a very fun time, and I do look forward to hearing how it all goes.
So if you have time, great. If you do not have time, as I say, this is going to be a small group to start with just to explore and get more people involved because this is admittedly extremely rough.
And if people want to inquire about getting involved in this with you, where is the best place for them to reach out to you at? DMs?
I will
What's
be
your preference?
posting and getting permission the aux to create and post a thread there once I am
Awesome.
ready to open it. But I wanted to
Awesome.
have both of you ladies involved in this discussion, and since that can't happen very regularly, I wanted to grab the opportunity as I could.
Yep. This morning was the time.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much, Lady Red, for joining us.
You're very welcome. It has been my pleasure, and I do look forward to hearing more about all of this.
Yes, thank you all, folks, for being here. I hope this is something that could be exciting and interesting. I know this is not my normal, but sometimes I gotta mix things up a bit, and this is a passion project that I've been working on for, well, 30 years now?
Variety is the spice of
No,
life.
more than that. So, as I say, guys, ladies, try to be nice to each other. You never know when that one little thing you do is going to change someone's life forever for the better. There are, we run into people all the time who we will never meet again, but if we're just a little bit nice sometimes, it helps. I know it's not easy. Believe me, there were a couple of times in the last few days that I wanted to say things that I would have never had a consequence on, but I would have regretted. So just try to be nice and bring a little bit of light to the world because right now, in winter, it feels like an awful dark place. Till it later, folks. Asta.
Ah!
Bye.